very excited this week to have the privilege to play the team from the South, part of Georgia, and our kids are excited, and they are dialed in, and we need a great week of preparation to have a chance to play with them. They're an outstanding football team, and we are looking forward to Saturday.
Can you provide any injury updates that have changed since yesterday's updates?
Yes, Nate Miner is doubtful. James Traylor is back. Trey Payne is still questionable. Sean Jepson is questionable to doubtful. I think that's about it. I think I got him there. I didn't bring the injury report in with me, but the main one is Nate Miner today. It's not good.
Just out of curiosity, I know that this is the first game in what will become a long series, but with a lot of kids from Georgia on the roster. Does the game take on kind of a, I don't know, I don't want to say a special or different, but a little bit of extra emphasis, and then that it's the first meeting of an in-state rival with Georgia State and Georgia Southern?
Well, there's always the games that end up being rivalries, and anytime you're involved in something like that, there's always a little extra bounce in your stride, pep in your step, and it's just natural. It's going to develop into rivalries, or things that are established over years, over history, and so this is the start of one, because it's a natural. We're in the same conference, we're in the same state, and our kids approach it. We try to approach every game, as is important, but obviously they'll probably know guys on that team, and so there's always going to be a little extra incentive, and I'm sure it's the same way on that side, and I think it ends up being more for the fans. You could look at for our players, you could look at South Alabama, and you could look at Louisiana Lafayette, and think that you've got natural rivalries there too. But our guys will look at it as a rivalry, and all the fans will, and hopefully in years to come they'll be talking about how great a rivalry it is, kind of like Georgia Tech, Alabama Auburn, and all the Louisiana Lafayette, Louisiana Monroe. It's built in because of where we're located and where they're located.
Coach, can you talk about your opponent's offense, and is there anything beneficial from the Air Force game that might be helpful for your defense?
Well, not real. I mean, it's a totally different offense than Air Force, and their offense is dynamic. The quarterback, I know numbers. Number 4, he can go. I mean, he is an excellent football player, and they've got some excellent skill position guys. It's a very difficult scheme, and they utilize it really well. I mean, no one's really stopped them. You're not going to stop them. You got to try to slow them down. But they do a great job. It's totally different than Air Force. It's not the same. This more spread you out and get you outside and do things with the ability to hit you inside.
Do you feel pressure to have to try to maximize every possession, knowing that they can control the ball so well if they want to?
I mean, we try not to put any pressure on the offense. We just want them to go out and execute. I don't want them to feel any undue pressure. There's pressure enough when you're 1-6, and so we try to keep it off the players and put it on the coaching staff, and we're not really looking to, yes, do we want to have long drives and control the clock and all that kind of stuff? Yes, of course we do, but we're not going to pressure our guys up to do it. We just want to score points. Score points.
Coach, how you feeling about your running game? You're down to your 5th and 6th running backs, I think, right now in the season.
Well, I feel we have a running game. We are still going to try to do things. Marcus Caffey will be back with us this week to play, as long as he upholds his end of going to class and study hall hours and doing the things he needs to do to become a better student and off the field. So, Marcus and Gerald Howes and Duval Smith will handle the running back duties with Dontavius Crocker in there also. I don't know how much Dontavius will get, depending on injury, but I think those guys have proven that, you watched the first half of South Alabama, Gerald ran pretty good, and he got a little dinged up with cramps and a hamstring issue. But we have to try to run the ball to have some balance. That's our key. That's what we want to do, is be able to have balance in our offense. That's, a lot of schools are that way. A lot of, pro teams are that way. The more balanced you are, the better it is.
Can you put your finger on just the rash of injuries that this team has suffered this year? And it had them last year and in previous years. It seems like more compared to other programs.
Yes, I can put some of it is fluke, like today at practice. That's nobody touched him, running, foot stuck in the ground, turned the wrong way. You got a knee injury. But a lot of it has to do with the fact of we have a lot of guys that have to play a lot of reps in practice and in games because we don't have any depth. Honestly, right now I think we're down to, if we took out the kids off the road that were redshirting and we're just taking so that they can get the experience, we're really traveling an NFL roster, probably 53 guys. And so, like Joe Peterson this last game played every snap, and by the end of the game, you're worn down. You don't have any fuel in the tank, and you're exposed to injuries. We South Alabama in their game played 12 different defensive linemen against us to keep their guys fresh and rotated them. We played 5. That's all we have. So, we don't make any excuses. But when you have very few guys, that are able to sub in, and guys are playing long, extended periods in practice and in games, they're more susceptible to injuries. And then some of it's been fluke. You have no idea that Sean Jepson's going to catch strep throat, and have to sit out a game. Tried to play but couldn't go and hadn't been able to practice. You have no idea that Mike Ivory is going to get his foot stepped on and have to have Liz Frank surgery. And out. And, some of it's fluke, some of it's not. Some of it's because of, taking so many reps and being out there so long, they get worn down.
Did you see any areas of improvement, Coach, your last game defensively, and what are you hoping to carry into this game?
Well, I saw some improvement. Again, we're not where we want to be. Well, we're going to get there. We've got to, keep coaching these young guys, keep getting them better as the season goes on, keep putting them in situations to be successful, and keep recruiting, and fill up our roster and get it going. So we will get better. I saw some areas of improvement, just from some of the blitzes that we brought and being in position to get them off the field. I think we held them to 3 and outs in the game, and made them punt the ball. That's improvement. So we're just going to keep fighting and keep learning the system better. It takes a few years to learn this system, like the back of your hand, like it has our offense. We're better in our offense this year because, a lot of them went through it last year. So they're getting better. And when you see, you have Shannon Sullivan starting at a corner, and when Shannon hurts his shoulder, and when you go back to talking about the injuries that you asked me about, a lot of it has to do with youth, with the fact that they haven't had 3-4 years to develop in the weight room. They haven't had that. You got 18-year-old kids out there playing against 22-year-old, 23-year-old guys, and sometimes they're not, shoulders aren't as strong as they're going to be 2-3 years from now. So Shannon Sullivan tweaks his shoulder, and he's a true freshman, and so his sub goes in, and he's a true freshman, and he tweaks his ankle. So, a lot of it has to do with the fact that you just got to grow these kids, and you got to have a little patience. Nobody really wants to hear that word. They think we're making excuses and that kind of stuff, but it's reality. We've got to get them stronger, give them some time in the weight room, and let them learn the defense and keep growing it, and they'll be much better and improved on defense and recruit.
How did the moving the crowd and the band kind of closer to the bench 2 games ago, how did that play out for the team?
Nothing played out 2 weeks ago. That was just a blur. I got whiplash watching Arkansas State going up and down the field. So I wasn't looking behind me into the crowd. I don't pay attention to the crowd. Oh, I do. I pay attention to my wife. When I come out, I always make sure I find where my wife is. She's always in the same section in the same seats all the time. I always got to make eye contact with my wife and family. And then after that, I don't look behind me. The only time I look behind me, I'm looking down at the bench and the guy's sitting on the bench when I go talk to him. So I couldn't tell you that.
But it seemed like something that you were mildly excited about.
Yeah, I think anytime you could, you play in such a large venue, anytime you can restrict it and narrow it down and put people right behind you, rather than spread out and kind of focus the energy right there, has a chance to help you. Kids feed off energy. Teams feed off energy. A lot of teams, loud crowds, and it gets you going. I think it's a brilliant idea, and hope it continues.
Taylor Evans' play at the left side of the line has had to be kind of reshuffled and rebuilt now. How did they look last week, and what do you expect from them going forward?
We struggled a little bit in protection. Taylor had to move from guard out to tackle. We took A.J. Kaplan, moved him from right tackle to left tackle. We took Taylor Evans from right guard to right tackle. And it just so happened that the guy that he lined up against in the whole game is going to be an NFL draft choice. He's an excellent football player. So that's kind of, trial by fire, you know what I mean? He just got thrown in there and had to do it. And, we battled. We put ourselves in a position to win the football game, no matter how many sacks we gave up and how tough it was to run the ball in the second half. But our kids still fought, and they're going to get better each week and, get the continuity back and get guys used to playing out of position. And, we've got 6, I think. What do we got, 6? 12? How many games we got left? I don't just know we got 1 game this week. I don't know how many's after that. So, we've got a chance to keep building that group, more and more.
Will this affect recruiting at all? Playing Georgia Southern, the winter, will it positively affect recruiting?
I have no idea. I mean, I'm not. I know that our recruiting is going very well, and we will always end up recruiting against all the teams in the Sun Belt, and the things that affect recruiting are different for each kid and their family. Some is just about education, some is about playing time, some is about location, some is about facilities. I mean, it's a schedule. I mean, it's different for every family that you're recruiting. So I have no idea how it would affect. Anytime you win, I mean, if you go out there and win a bunch of games, I'm sure that affects recruiting. I mean, that always helps. Yeah, it's the number one thing. But there's a lot of factors in recruiting. First thing that would help is recruiting is when we get the new weight room.
Coach, how do you feel about your red zone offense, specifically what you were able to do down near the goal line?
And as far as what?
Being able to punch it in.
Well, would we punch it in? We didn't punch it in once, and we punched it in another time, or 2 other times. So, there's no way that we should not get 4th and an inch. There's no way we were going to go to South Alabama and play for a field goal to tie the game early in the game when we knew we had to score points on the road against a defense like that, and you've got it 4th and an inch. There's not a player or a coach, that wouldn't have wanted to go for that and do it. So I felt, to be honest with you, I felt Jonathan Lytle scored on the play, and then on 4th down we bobbled the snap. It was a bad snap, and we bobbled the snap and lost ground and weren't able to get going on the QB sneak. So, they stopped us. They're a good defense, but, there's no way we should not be able to get an inch. And then the other times we had it, we scored. And so, that's what happened. I think we've been very, very effective in our goal line offense up until that moment right there. I remember scoring on the goal line against New Mexico State to take the lead late. I don't think anybody's really stopped us on the goal line except for that one. And it was really, I thought we scored, and then when we came back on 4th down, it was a bad snap and bobbled snap. We weren't able to get any momentum. Well, yeah, we learn something every game. You know, this is a different offense than the Air Force offense. But you always learn stuff when it comes to assignment football. You know, when you made a bunch of mistakes in the Air Force game when it came to assignment football. But this is a whole different scheme, a whole different setup. So, you know, every game we've tried to learn. So, you know, they've had to learn something from it, and hopefully, you know, they can put it all together this weekend.